Welcome to the Editor's Note Comics Podcast.
I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call.
Central Maine's best comics podcast, by default.
Ain't no thing like me except me.
Here are your hosts, Zach and Jared.
Maps come with me. No. When do we start?
Welcome back to the show.
That whole Eminem lyrics thing to open up the show lasted a great, 2, maybe 3 weeks?
Maybe, I don't know. I got tired of it.
It's understandable. You know what? I want to thank you for something. You changed my life last week. Kind of was you, but it was mostly you turned me on to something that was phenomenal, and I cannot get enough of it.
Oh, that Weezer song?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
It's very good. I also like the Rosanna cover, but
that was funny. Yeah, for
it was
anyone
excellent
who doesn't know, there's this 14-year-old kid who he heard Toto's Africa and Stranger Things, and it became like his new favorite song. So he created a Twitter account called at Weezer for Africa, and he got people to tweet at them and like as many retweets as he could to be like, "Hey, when is Weezer going down to Africa?"
Or like Rivers Como, you need to bless the rains in Africa.
Yeah. So this went on for like a year or something, and eventually Weezer responded with like the best troll move ever, and they released Toto's other big song, Rosanna, which is so
wasn't
close.
bad.
It's so close but so far away. And then they released a totally straight cover of Africa. It's really good.
It's not just really good. It's probably going to be the song of the summer.
Yeah, Toto's Africa is a great song, but this is a really good cover too.
I love how the electric guitar comes in the chorus.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's a good song.
It's not a bad song.
So I guess it was like number 2 trending on YouTube.
It is one of those instances where like the remake is as good as the original.
Yeah, it's great. Go check it out. I mean, if you enjoy Toto's Africa, and really, who doesn't? Get away from my notes.
I'm not getting away from your notes. There are notes.
But yeah, that was the thing. Also, promised for like a month now, we have it. For some of our Dukes of the podcast, we have a thank you.
We are pleased to present to you our Dukes.
Here's to AJW and Billy P. A special editor's note shout out goes to you fine gents.
We royally thank you for your support.
There you go.
You
are thanked.
I like how like the people came in with the horns here into the studio and they put a crown on me and a jester's hat on you. It worked out quite well.
I'm a dunce, if not a king.
That's not even close to anything that sounds like a legitimate quip or musing or adage.
Why be a king when you could be a god? Brought Eminem back.
Okay, there it is.
Found a way.
All right.
We got a lot of news today, so I think we should just jump right into it.
Go for it.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
It's time for the news.
Oh, good thing I brought my phone down because I said I wasn't going to need it. I want to show you an image and get your reaction live.
Oh.
Because this is the thing you care about way more than I do. I don't care at all.
I'm kind of scared, nervous, apprehensive. My guess is it's going to be Spider-Man related.
Well, thank God Instagram's back up because otherwise I couldn't.
Oh, is it back up?
Get off your phone. I'm on my phone for a show purpose.
Oh, no, Instagram has stopped. Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah, I knew about that.
Oh, did you?
Yes. I just didn't think it was really happening so far, but that's excellent.
You might want to explain what you're looking at.
So,
I'm going to take the phone away now.
It's a picture of Maverick, looking Maverick from Top Gun. You can tell it's Maverick because it's got the striped helmet. There's a fighter jet in the background, and it just says, "Feel the need." And Tom Cruise says, #Day1. Bring on the Top Gun, baby.
Also, if you go to the IMDb, there is nothing. There's no cast. It just says Tom Cruise.
I hope Val Kilmer's in it. I want to see. Iceman has gotten fat, washed up, and become an alcoholic.
Are you kidding? He's super thin now.
Oh, has he? Has Val Kilmer lost a lot of weight?
He is.
Has he lost weight like back to like when he played Doc Holliday with tuberculosis thin?
Yeah, he looks gaunt.
I like Val Kilmer a lot.
And
Val Kilmer got big. I also like Tom Bergeron a lot. He also got big.
And now he's super thin. And he's been tweeting at Tom Cruise. He's like, "I'm ready, baby." I don't think Tom Cruise ever responded to the tweets. But yeah, what do you think about this Top Gun sequel?
You know what? They've remade all the others. There was a Rambo category on Jeopardy tonight.
What was it?
It was called like the Rambo Connection, which I thought was clever play on words myself.
Remember that time Rambo was playing banjo on a log?
Yes. But no, there was like
that time he was
questions
just
like
shooting people with 50 caliber bullets.
Like this knife was inspired by Rambo. What was the name of the knife? And the knife brand was called First Blood, which I think is probably a terrible name for a knife if you're selling it. Buy the First Blood knife.
I don't know, man.
Listen, give it to me. All right, we've already redone a bunch of stuff in the 80s. We've in the early 90s.
The 80s are new again.
Yeah, we've already done a bunch of stuff from the 80s and 90s. We've done RoboCop remake, Terminator still going on.
Did Point Break happen at some point in time that no one saw? I think that one already came out maybe like 2 years ago.
There was a Total Recall remake.
That sucked.
What else was there? I'm trying to think of off the top of my head.
But
I
this
said
is
RoboCop, right?
Yeah, this isn't a...
Rambo's ongoing. Predators has been ongoing. Top Gun is an iconic man. You've never seen Top Gun, right?
No, I never have. But
You know what? You're gonna watch Top Gun. I'm gonna make you watch Top Gun for the show.
I know.
I am gonna Shanghai the show in the next couple of weeks, and you're gonna watch Top Gun
In context,
for the 4th
I
of
know
July
the
show.
entire-
For the
No.
4th of July show.
We have a Captain America thing.
No, Captain America. We're watching Top Gun.
Excuse you.
No, I am heated right now.
A real American patriot.
Come on. Maverick single-handedly took out Russian MiGs.
Yeah, so the 80s is alive and well, including a teaser image of the Wonder Woman logo, which is going to take place in 1984.
That's a good year. It's a solid year.
Yeah, Ghostbusters
Especially-
came out.
Especially the latter half of the year, like October 22nd-ish.
So she's going to take on the Russians, because the Russians are evil again. It's the 80s all over again. The 80s are new.
Oh, there was a Red Dawn remake.
That also sucked. It was
All we
real
need-
bad.
All we need now is like Dirty Dancing, Big Trouble in Little China, those kind of things.
Dirty Dancing had a remake.
It sucked.
I don't know. I didn't
I
watch
don't
it,
know.
but let's assume it did.
Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights were told by show producer.
Person who tolerates me. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if tolerate's the best way to describe your marriage.
No, I think it's fine.
I mean,
But, yeah, I don't know. I think Wonder Woman in the 80s, I kind of like doing that, like kind of having it be separate from the rest of the DC stuff. It kind of feels intentional.
that's fair.
Like, if we need to have this be its own thing, we can do that.
I'm trying to think of other 80s and 90s things that were remade recently.
I'm pretty sure I have more on this list. I was just trying to take a segue to the 80s. What else has happened? Oh, yes. Speaking of the 90s, The Crow reboot looks like it has been canceled. The Sony walked away. The director, Corin Hardy, walked away. And Jason Momoa, who was going to be The Crow, also walked away. This is like the 5th time that movie, like, director and main star have walked away.
So there's a movie from the 80s and 90s that can't get any traction. That's more of a cult classic based on all of the things that
I
happened
say we
around
bring
it.
back Edward Furlong.
I don't think that's happening.
He could be The Crow again.
That didn't really work out well for him the first time.
Or, you know what? He might have been one of the people who was already up for it. I don't remember. There have been so many. Just have Jared Leto do it. Have him be a weirdo in eyeliner. He's into that.
Lay off Jared Leto, man.
No, because I got some Jared Leto news. Just broke like half an hour before we started recording.
Okay, then lay me with the... Let's rephrase that. Lay it on me, that Jared Leto news.
Oh, boy. I don't know what Warner Brothers is doing, because we've heard so many different things about a Harley Quinn movie and a Harley Quinn and Joker movie. Like Martin Scorsese produced 80s Joker movie, maybe with Leonardo DiCaprio and all this other crap.
Remember,
But
as much as you love, or I love Warner Brothers, they're the same people who gave us the WB and a singing frog.
why is that a good thing?
I'm saying you should temper your expectations. They also did give us Batman from Tim Burton. There's another one, Batman from the 80s, redone in the 90s and 2000s, poorly done in the early 2000s and late 90s.
Batman first done in the 40s and then in the 60s, so, you know, it's been around for a while.
8, 9, 10. So coming up in the 2020s, it's supposed to be time for a good Batman again. It could be like the Star Trek odd-numbered movie, even-number movie phenomena.
So the story is that Variety just broke this, that Jared Leto is getting a solo Joker movie that he'll be one of the producers on as well. What are you doing? What are you doing, Warner Brothers? I was thinking about this earlier this
What's
week.
wrong with that?
Which this wasn't really
Why
connected.
don't you? What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong with that.
Because all of these, not all of them, but the majority of these movies have been crap, and he was terrible in Suicide Squad. He did all that weird method acting of like sending people used condoms and dead rats and like dropping a dead pig in the middle of a table read or something. He's a weirdo, and this is it's gonna be bad.
Did you not like him in Blade Runner?
No, he was the worst part of Blade Runner. We've been over this.
I think you just have something against him as a person.
I don't. His music isn't my thing, but that seems fine. I liked him in what was that movie from like 5 years ago? It's like Dallas Buyers
Buyers
I
Club
liked
with
in
him and
that.
Matthew
He was
McConaughey.
good. He was fine in that 90s show that died and has a cult following, My So-Called Life.
Oh, wow. That's a throwback.
Oh yeah, I got
Bring
there.
that back. We're talking about bringing stuff back. This is a retro show.
I mean, he's fine in some stuff, but his stuff in the last couple of years, no, I have not been a fan of. And I didn't like Suicide Squad. I didn't like his Joker, so don't do this movie. Something we haven't seen yet is, for as much as there has been like all these shared universes popping up, what we haven't seen yet is someone who has kind of doubled down on that whole shared universe rebooting. We've seen it with individual things, like we've seen Spider-Man reboot, and we've seen stuff like the Dark Universe come and fail twice now, between like Dracula Untold and that Mummy movie, but we haven't seen anyone who's invested a few movies into a franchise do a full reboot. X-Men almost did it, and then they didn't. But like Marvel hasn't done it. DC is doubling down hard.
Apparently so. Well, Marvel
Just-
hasn't had to do a full reboot because they did it right the
I'm
first
just
time.
saying in general, but we haven't seen someone with a full shared universe do a hard reboot yet. I guess Godzilla did it, but that's not quite to the scale that we're at now. That
That's
didn't have
Toto, baby. They do what they want.
Toho, not Toto. You're stuck on Africa.
I am.
Stop blessing the rains.
No, I will never stop blessing the rains. The wild dogs have cried out in the night for me, Zach.
What did that old man what was he gonna say? He just turned around. He didn't even say anything.
It was in his eyes.
He
The man understands.
He doesn't understand anything. He had a stranger come up to him. He's like, "Hey, my woman's coming in on a 12:30 flight. Do you have some advice?" And he just stared at him.
Yeah, as if to say, hurry, boy, she's waiting there for you.
Ugh. Speaking of things getting canceled involved with Spider-Man, the Silver Sable and Black Cat duo movie has been delayed indefinitely at Sony. You know what I say?
I didn't even know those were things.
We brought it up before. Good.
That's how much I paid attention the first time.
You know why it's good?
Because people aren't going to watch it?
Because I don't like female-led movies.
You are such a liar.
Not the reason. No, I actually think this is a good sign.
It's a good sign that they're going to make way for a Man-Bat movie.
Well, different studio. I'd watch a Man-Bat movie. Why not? It's just Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but he flies.
That's pretty cool.
I think this is a good move on Sony's part. Not necessarily because I don't think this could have been a good movie. I like the idea of combining characters into movies. Like, I feel like we're getting further and further away from the solo hero movie. Like, even like Thor Ragnarok or Captain America, Winter Soldier, or Civil War, stuff like that. We're kind of seeing a combination of heroes in one movie. I think that's a good call. Or Ant-Man and the Wasp that's coming right up. I like that idea, but what I like Sony backing down from an idea is they are not known for backing down from an idea. They've had to can Spider-Man twice now because they got too ambitious and rushed things too fast. So if they're actually taking a step back and going, actually, this one might not be in our best interest, let's try and do things right, I think that's probably a good sign.
I would agree with that.
And because women were leading it, and we can't have that.
You are a pig. You're a total pig.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's not that reason. But yeah, so I think that's probably a good sign if they're like, hey, let's take the proper time to do a thing. Small news, I have no idea what he's going to do. Probably be the son of someone that in some boring family we're not going to care about. But Julian Dennison, he was the kid in Deadpool 2.
Oh, yes.
He was Fire Fist. He has been cast in the King Kong vs. Godzilla remake.
Hopefully he gets eaten.
I know,
Or a building falls on him. Or both.
I mean, he survived Deadpool. Maybe this is the one where he gets it. I got nothing against him. Actually, he's really...
he's funny.
I've seen him in interviews. He's pretty funny in person, too.
Yeah.
But that's, I like that casting news is starting to roll out for that movie, and they're starting to move that one forward. Like, yeah, Kong versus Godzilla.
You just want to see them fight.
I do. I mean, we've seen it before. We watched it. It's amazing.
It's amazing to watch them fight when they were like really
Just
poor costumes. Yes.
Shoving a tree down his throat. Or still my favorite scene when they tried to get the natives hooked on cigarettes.
That was funny.
It's horribly racist. It's like actors in blackface and they're being offered cigarettes like, ooh, that smooth nicotine. It's terrible. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to that movie in general. What else we got? Just slide that a little harder across the glass.
I will.
Lock and Key. We read the first bit of that book.
Yes.
Of 6 chapters. It's an amazing series. I just reread it. It's so damn good. But Lock and Key, they've had some trouble getting a show off the ground. They had an order like 10 years ago that didn't go anywhere, and then Hulu had a deal and they did a whole pilot which everyone said was really good, but then Hulu dropped it. They just got a full season order over at Netflix. This is one of those shows they probably couldn't do it for more than a couple of seasons because there's not that much material, and I don't think they should do more than what's there. But this is the kind of money Netflix has. I think they're still keeping everyone. They had a whole pilot shot ready to go. Netflix scrapped it. They said, yeah, we'll just start over.
Wow.
Netflix got some cash.
Yes, they do.
They're actually worth more now than Disney.
Say what? What?
Isn't that nuts?
Like the whole Disney entity?
Yeah.
Wow.
Netflix is bigger than Disney. They're like, you know what? We have a whole pilot ready to go. Yeah, let's just make another one. We got some money to throw
where did you read
around.
that they were bigger than Disney?
Other stock prices.
Oh, wow. So just because their stock prices are bigger doesn't mean they have more net worth than Disney.
I don't remember the whole article, man.
Anyway.
I mean, I'm looking forward to that show. And Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, like they're all involved with it. And the editor on that book, Chris Rael, who, if you want to hear an interview with him, go check out my other podcast.
The Buffy Baggage you've been.
Yeah, he's been going to the East Coast a lot recently where they're shooting the show. So I feel like they actually have a lot of involvement with the original people, which I think is a good thing. But man, Netflix got some cash.
Are you asking for some money from Netflix?
No.
What if they gave you $10? Would you accept it?
Yes.
See, there you go. So you're asking Netflix for cash. You give them $10 a month.
Oh crap! I forgot to do Bendis news. I'll find some before.
What the hell's wrong with you? Here, you look up some Bendis news while I read from this. The Bumblebee trailer came out.
Oh yeah.
See, I'll talk about the Bumblebee trailer where you bring up some Bendis news. Unbelievable. How are you not prepared for the most important, groundbreaking segment on this show?
He took over DC's Instagram. Is that news?
Didn't we already talk about that after he went down into the
No, he
vaults
took
and the
over
archives?
their account today.
Oh, okay. Then there you go. Talk about that. Well, I'm going to talk about the Bumblebee trailer. We got our first Bumblebee trailer, the last anticipated Transformers movie. Looks nice. In fact, Zach even said, damn, it actually looks kind of good. Still not going to watch it.
I refuse.
I think the one thing that it does open the door up to now is it opens it up to, much like the Star Wars side movies like Solo and Rogue One, is now, well, okay, we're going to get a Bumblebee movie. Well, if we're going to get a Bumblebee movie, why not an Optimus Prime movie or a, I can't think of any other Transformers at the moment, Megatron movie.
That one that's a cassette player, or that one that's like 5-in-1. I don't really know Transformers.
No, you just only had it as your text message tone one summer.
Transformers!
Yeah, I wanted to kill you that summer. For someone who says they hate texting now, I can understand why, because you got it all out of your system that one summer.
I'm just not a conversational texter. Which I have a couple of people
I
who
find that hard to believe after that night.
Yeah, screw it. That's my Bendis news. He took over DC's Instagram today. It was actually kind of interesting to see the stuff, including a page that he was gifted from DC co-publisher Jim Lee. So that was neat. That's the Bendis news. We didn't do a theme, but there he is, Bendising it all over the place.
Wait a minute. Here's the theme.
What is Bendis up to now?
We're gabbing about Bendis. It's this week's news about Brian Michael Bendis.
Bendis.
See?
Well, we just talked about it, so there you go. The Bumblebee trailer doesn't look awful, and it looks a lot more like the 80s Transformers, and this movie's taking place in the 80s, but like we saw Starscream for a second, and it looks a lot more faithful to that kind of G1 stuff. I know that's what the Transformers called those first couple seasons.
Wow.
The G1, I think it's Generation 1.
Probably, yeah, it makes more sense. Yeah. I buy it.
Yeah, it doesn't look terrible, but I can't see it. I don't want to give this franchise money. I don't want them to restart it. It was just announced that it's dead. Let it die.
Will you Redbox it?
No.
You're not even going to Redbox it?
I haven't seen the last couple. I'm not going to start now.
What if I Redbox it and bring it over? Technically not your money.
I guess if it's under 3 hours, because that's a big problem with those movies.
What if it's 2 hours and 59 minutes?
No, refuse.
Still under 3 hours. You just laid down the guideline.
Will not do it.
What if I Redbox it, brought it over, and alcohol?
Okay.
See?
Every man has a price.
Yes, and yours is very low.
Like $10.
Cheapest date on the planet.
Hey, I probably should have saved this for the Jared Joker Little news, but let's do stupid news.
What is this?
Oh, it's This Week in Stupid News.
This is a new level of lame.
Ooh, I like stupid news.
I don't like this stupid news. This is more makes me angry news.
Oh, okay. Is it about the woman who dragged her boyfriend's stuff out into the middle of the street in Waterville and lit it on fire?
No, that's hilarious. Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose in Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Yes.
She has left social media entirely due to all of the harassment she's received over that movie.
That's dumb.
Yeah, if you don't like a character, that's fine. Leave the people alone. She was a fan of the series. She came in, did work on it. I like her fine. I like introducing new characters into these movies, not just doing the same thing over and over again. I thought that thing at the end of her was dumb, where she crashes into Finn's ship and she's like, don't sacrifice yourself. We're only going to win by saving the things we love. Like, that's what he was doing. He was sacrificing himself to save the things he loved. Again, that's not her, though. That's the character. That's something that was written. Leave her alone. Don't be awful. Don't harass people on the internet.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's just,
if that's what you do, or just f off, don't listen to the show, and don't show up at my store, I don't need you.
I don't have anything to add to that. But sticking with horrific news, have you heard about this story?
I don't know. You said it so vaguely. Have I heard about this story? Yeah, I've heard about some stories.
A Protestant pastor was killed by a crocodile during a baptism ceremony in an Ethiopian lake.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Dosho Eshete and about 80 members of his congregation gathered Sunday morning at the southern end of Lake Abaya, close to a national park where enormous crocodiles are reported to cover the shore. Normally, the animals are a tourist draw, but here, listen to this. He baptized the first person and then passed on to another one, a resident of nearby Arba Minch told the BBC. All of a sudden, a crocodile jumped out of the lake and grabbed the pastor.
It's not stupid news. That's horrific.
Well, see, I'm equating it to that. These are both terrible things.
A man's dead.
A man is dead.
It's terrible. Almost under the label of stupid news, and then we'll move on to other news, I suppose. It's time for another Stan Lee update.
Oh, yes, please.
This isn't the same that we've had recently. 2 gunmen tried to rob him at his house.
What?
Like, at the fence in front of Stanley's house, he was with, like, at least his nurse, and there was one other person I don't remember now. But they came up to him and they're like, give us a bunch of money. And then they took out guns when they retreated back inside the house. They called 911, there was a helicopter, and they took them out really quickly. But yeah. So instead of people internally stealing from Stan, now people from the outside are coming in and doing it too.
It's not good times.
That man is having a weird time. And they also did it at like 7:30 on a Thursday, so it's, nice and sunny because it's California. Like just in the middle of the day, they're like, or I guess in the evening, like, hey, give us your money. No, we have guns.
That's not nice at all.
Yeah, weird.
Did you see there was leaked Avengers 4 concept art?
No.
Well, let me show it to you.
Yep, they all look about the same. Oh, that's from Hickman's run. One of the things, and I won't elaborate on what.
Is it important?
No, but, I still don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, good idea. No, I just came across this, thought I would share it.
Yeah, there aren't really a lot of spoilers in there. There they are. They, it's the ones that are alive.
Captain Marvel.
We also knew she was going to be in the movie.
Yes. Anyway.
What else we got? Kind of some sad news, but not the worst because it's by personal choice. Stuart, Immonen, hope I pronounced that right. He's been at Marvel for a really long time. His contract ran up a while ago, and his Spider-Man run is ending. It's going to a new creative team, and he is retiring from drawing comics. It's not a definite forever retirement, but he said there are no immediate plans to do anything else. He's a really great artist, so it's kind of a bummer. But, he's been doing it for a long time, so if you want to do something else...
By all means.
Yeah, can't blame you.
Nothing wrong with that.
And the last bit of news. This
Yes.
was an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
The Library of Congress received its largest comics donation of all time. Diamond CEO Stephen Jeppy gave them over 3,000 items, which is estimated to be like in the millions, because all the stuff is going like way back, including the craziest one they were talking about was he gave them storyboards from 1927 for the very first Mickey Mouse cartoon.
Wow. Steamboat Willie?
No, it's funny. I didn't know this. Steamboat Willie was the first one produced, but the first one made was the third one released, Plain Crazy.
Really?
Yeah, so some storyboards from 1927 are now in the Library of Congress, so they're going to have it all on display.
Wow.
So there's a bunch of original art in there, those crazy storyboards, a bunch of early crazy comics. And he's talking about, it's like, yeah, I might do a few other donations to them as well.
I just might. That's incredible stuff.
Yeah. And
that's priceless.
Well, they said in the millions.
Well.
So there's a price.
Yeah, for the tax write-off, but still.
But I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's very cool. You can kind of, they talk about like preserving films in the Library of Congress for like their special historical or cultural significance. I think that's important to put some of that Americana in there as well.
I've seen some of the inside of his home. They highlighted him on Comic Book Men for one episode, and the stuff he has is insane, and he gave a ton of it away. It's great. It's preserve that stuff.
Yeah, I see it more as like he's not just giving it away; he's putting it in a safer, more secure place to preserve it.
Yeah, all for it. That'll do it for all of our pop culture news of the week. From there, it's time for Jared's Sports Reports.
He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. Bare-chested. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line.
It's time for another Jared Sports Report.
Not much happening in the world of sports.
Anything major? Any big news in sports?
Well, the NBA Finals are going on, and the Golden State Warriors are absolutely beating the piss out of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Good.
So I don't expect that series to go more than 5 games. Maybe 6, but I don't know how Cleveland wins 2 in a row at home. But who knows? It's the NBA. You never know what you're going to get. The Las Vegas Knights, well, they're not doing too well in the Stanley Cup Finals after winning Game 1, but they do put on tremendous pregame shows. I will give them that.
You know what's crazy?
What?
If they win, their odds to win were 500 to 1.
Oh yeah,
So if you put a bet down,
you're
and
gonna
they
make
win,
bank.
Like if you were just throw down $20
That's
times 500.
Yes. That's a lot of cash, but
Yeah,
it's
so
not
I
gonna
feel-
not gonna happen. The Capitals are in full control of that series.
Okay, I'm sure that anyone who runs a casino is like, good.
Mm.
The rest of Las Vegas is like, yay, we're all together. And the casinos are like,
No, we're not. What happens in Vegas definitely needs to not come back to Vegas. Let's see other stuff. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski were seen in Patriots uniforms at the recent minicamp, the OTAs that are going on.
I've never seen them in Patriots uniforms.
I know. See, the sky isn't falling. People, get over it. Jeez,
What are you yelling about now?
I got heated with somebody over the weekend about people trying to make stories like about stop writing these clickbaity articles. That's what people do. They write clickbaity articles because they get paid by the click and paid by the view.
Why are people mad about them being dressed in their team's uniform?
They're not mad about them. They're like, oh, they're trying to create strife. Like, will Tom Brady ever show up to off-season activity? Will Rob Gronkowski? They did the same thing last year, and you know what? They're there. It doesn't matter. They're playing for the Patriots, and you're following one of the best teams in the NFL, and so just deal with it and stop falling victim to all this clickbaity, pink hat mongering bullshit. Everybody take a deep breath.
I don't think it's everyone. I think it's just you.
And we move on.
What everyone?
There are plenty of pink hat idiots out there. I can't stand them. I cannot stand pink hat sports fans. It drives me insane. Furious.
I can tell. Got all fired up.
You're rooting for laundry, people. You are rooting for laundry.
You've said that here before. I think you even emphasized it a second time.
Yes.
Is that your catchphrase?
I didn't come up with it myself. Yeah, you become endeared to teams and you become endeared to players, but at the same time, it is a business. It's an entertainment business. Anyway.
Any other sports news?
Speaking of entertaining.
Anything big? Anything that should have been a nothing story is now a international conversation?
Yeah. I hate talking about politics, man.
I don't think it's politics.
It's okay. Now, you got me fired up. It is exactly, that is 110% what it is. It is politics. It is a political move. 110%. So here's the story. Here's the rub, as they say in certain places. So the Philadelphia Eagles were invited.
They say that in the red light district.
Will you let me tell the Jared Sports Report? Can I do my sports report? Will you just drink your goddamn tea and shut your mouth and let me do the sports report? You brought me in here to do a job. I'm doing the damn job.
And I'm going to interject.
You son of a bitch.
Actually, I've looked into this. I know I have some facts and some fun.
Yes. So the Philadelphia
Do you want
Eagles...
me to pull up what the mayor said?
So the Philadelphia Eagles were invited to the White House. There were players who opted not to go, which is their right to do so. There was a jostling back and forth because there wasn't going to be as many of the Eagles members of the organization available to go today, which would be June 5th. So the White House tried to do some back and forth to find out, well, when's the date that works? Oh, the president's overseas or he's doing this or that. So then the president just said, you know what? You're not invited anymore. He disinvited them because there weren't going to be enough Eagles for good optics.
Well, I thought he said it was because of all the kneeling and staying in the locker rooms. You know, the things that
the Philadelphia Eagles
none of
did
them
not
did,
do.
Not a single one.
Yeah. For this, it was the optics. Oh, the full team is not going to be there. It's not about disrespecting the flag or the anthem. It's about racial inequality through police brutality. I stand for the anthem. That's because that's how I was raised. But I don't think anyone should be forced into standing for the anthem or standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's part of, in my opinion, the First Amendment. It's First Amendment.
But Trump's all about that crowd size. This should have been a nothing story. Even if a few people showed up, it just would have been quick photo op and it would have been forgotten within 24 hours.
And here's the other thing. If you really wanted to get to the crux of the problem, if you were upset with them for kneeling for the anthem, ask them why. And then when they tell you why, have a dialogue and a conversation about it. That's all these players
Isn't that
want.
generally how things work? You have to have dialogue with people you have disagreements with.
Yes. This is where I get I hate when politics and sports get mixed together.
I feel like it's a new thing for sports because I feel like the arts have always had, like, no matter what you create for art, you always get a reflection of the time. There's going to be some kind of statement within there. But I feel like until kind of the social media existed, sports didn't really have that same thing. So they're kind of getting they've had politics before, but this is kind of like the first big push.
So when I say I don't like politics and sports mixing, it doesn't mean that sports and culture don't mix, because I believe that they are very seriously intertwined and that they are truly a reflection too of the times. And I think, to your point with social media, I think the social media piece just allows a more of a window into professional athletes.
You said you didn't want to talk about this.
Well, now you know what? We're talking sports culture now. Because you know what? You got me on it. Screw the Fantastic Four for the moment. We'll get to them.
Be funny if I just in my edit, if I just cut you off right there. I'm like, and now it's time for the Fantastic Four.
That would be hilarious.
And no.
I feel like some people might think it's a stretch, but to deny a platform for these athletes, at least to have this discussion, that is not right. They're given a platform. And yeah, people make the argument, well, they're part of a business and they're higher than their employees. Well, yes, they are, but they're also employees in a different sense than somebody who goes and works a 9 to 5 is a totally.
Most jobs also don't have the national anthem played. I don't play that before I start my day.
You don't stand up and like, oh, time to open the store, and you. So it's trying to equate apples and oranges.
Both fruits.
Yes, but they're one's red or green, and the other's most definitely orange or green.
Do you say there's a green orange?
Well, when they start to bloom or blossom, they're green.
Well, they're not quite ripe now, are they?
No, but they're still an orange. So now I've totally lost my train of thought and where I was going down this track.
Hey, I wonder if this came up during that policy meeting with Kim Kardashian. From there, let's move on to Jared's Reading Corner.
It's Jared's Reading Corner.
Oh, I had fun.
You purposely pushed my buttons and riled me up.
I didn't purposely do it.
I didn't.
My whole thing is I think if it just had gone through smoothly, it would have been a 24-hour
Here's the other thing that people don't.
Oh, man. All right.
Like, all of these NFL teams operate volunteer organizations. They do community service every week in their areas. Chris Long, a player for the Eagles, he donated his year's salary to charity. All right. Also, here's another piece.
What
Fox.
a stunt.
Did you see the Fox?
Yes, I saw the Fox News.
Fox News ran a report showing Eagles players kneeling, saying that they were in the locker room kneeling before games and not coming out for the anthem. Those were pictures taken of them kneeling in prayer before they came out for onto the field.
They also put out
for the national anthem.
They put a correction out as well.
Yeah, but here's my other piece. It's out there and it's out there. Nobody reads the corrections. It's always
I just told you.
Yes, we're building our audience up. I don't want to turn off our listeners with political talk.
From there, finally. That was a fun 10 minutes.
I am tired. I'm going to take a nap.
Oh, that'll be fun to edit. We are moving on to Jared's Reading Corner.
It's Jared's Reading Corner.
One more thing.
No, you're done. You had your soapbox.
Put it away for the week.
This is what I get for giving you a platform.
I think it's a great platform, and I've worked hard to get it.
Coming out in 2 months, so if you want to get it, now is the time to order. Fantastic Four is coming back, so to celebrate the return, we're going to be doing a few Fantastic Four episodes, including the origin of the Marvel Universe. We're going back to Fantastic Four #1, and some fun facts before we do it. Fantastic Four #1 came out August 8th in 1961. The origin of the book is kind of debated for how it came. There's kind of a romanticized story, and it's kind of unclear how much of that is true, but we'll go with that. Stan Lee always tells it that he wanted to quit Marvel. He was kind of done with it. And his wife, Joan, said, why don't you do one book your way and then quit, get it out of your system, go become a screenwriter, do the great American novel, anything you want after that. So Stan Lee puts the Fantastic Four together. Marvel isn't supposed to be printing superhero books because DC, I think they have the copyright on it or something like that, and they're printing through DC, so they kind of snuck it out, making it look like it was a monster book. And the other thing, the reason that it's a team book is because DC's biggest seller at the time, which had just come out the year before Justice League was happening, so that's why we see a team book initially. Using the Marvel method, the pencils were done by Jack Kirby, written by Stan Lee, who inked it because no one really cared at the time because this is just pulp. It's supposed to come out, be disposable, forget about it. So the inker went uncredited for over 50 years. It is now widely considered that George Klein was the inker, although some people think that Artie Simek did it, but the majority seem to think it was George Klein on inks. Colorist, don't know. Get off your phone.
I'm off my phone.
You're literally still staring at it.
That was interesting. I didn't expect that.
What was it?
It was a Snapchat of somebody driving with music.
Cool.
One of the weird things about I don't like. You know what? You know what else grinds my gears?
No.
Like Snapchats of people driving with music. Who gives a fuck? I flicked my hand and hit the mic stand.
Snap him.
No, snap me, please. By all means, snap me. But I don't want to know that you're driving and listening to music. I understand that's what most people do. Or drive. If you're going to snap me driving and listening to something, it better be this damn podcast.
Or Weezer.
That too. I need to listen to that song to chill myself down right now.
A bunch of the production stuff is really unknown. A lot of things, especially in old art, is you kind of get to see both guys doing notes on them, and the location of all of this original art is unknown. It might have been lost, it might have been destroyed, but there are rumors of it being like hidden in some people's collections. But no one really knows the back and forth of production because that stuff there wasn't a record of it, and no one knows where that art is. It's probably all gone, but unknown because Marvel also destroyed a bunch of art back in the day. So thanks, Marvel.
Why?
That is a long story.
I don't have time for long stories.
No, oh yeah, you don't have time for a long rambling story?
See, I wasn't telling a story, I was giving a viewpoint.
The short version is artists wanted their art back and Marvel's like, no, we own it, so they destroyed it, and then they were forced to stop it and return most of it, and then there was a big lawsuit.
Okay, that was easy. That wasn't a long story at all.
I could have expanded.
I'm glad you didn't.
The cover itself is very interesting because we see a monster, and that monster, it's a very confusing cover. I forget the name of the monster. He would later become a Marvel character. The actions don't actually happen anywhere in the book. We see a monster coming out in the middle of New York. We see that the Thing is running at it. Johnny's
Central City.
Oh yeah, the original days. My mistake. We see Sue, who immediately gets her role for a very long time in this book as the damsel in distress, and Mr. Fantastic in the corner, just tied up with a bunch of rope. No explanation who the hell tied him up, where that rope came from. This monster explodes from underneath the sidewalk, and Reed's just like, oh no, I'm tangled.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's just a klutz, I guess. At the time, Marvel was known for monster books, so they're just like, we gotta make sure this thing sells, put a big monster on it. Don't see anything like that in the book itself.
No.
And one more fun fact, we talked about it not that long ago, but I'll say it again. Mr. Fantastic's original name was Mr. Fabulous. This would have been the Fabulous Four.
I like it.
I don't think the book would have lasted with that name.
No, it would have perfectly lasted. Why not?
Mr. Fabulous.
What's wrong with that?
He's just... too ostentatious.
He's very spectacular.
I mean, I'm saying compared to Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Fabulous is just too silly.
There's something about the word fantastic that's very grabby.
But the book itself, let's go through it. The origin of the Marvel Universe.
Well, it starts off with Reed Richards vaping on top of a building and comes out as the Fantastic Four. Oh, that's not vaping. He shoots a flare. Also, don't understand how his flare gun shoots off white and red smoke that spells out the Fantastic Four. But you know what? I'm going to believe in it because it's a comic book. But also we get the characters are introduced to us. For those of you who might not know who the Fantastic Four are, you have Dr. Reed Richards, Ben Grimm, Susan Storm, and Johnny Storm. And 3 cops wondering, why is there a guy standing in the window with a smoking gun?
Smoking gun's usually a bad thing.
Yes. We meet Sue Storm. She's at a social society event.
Yeah, we never actually figure out what she does. She's just a socialite in these early issues.
Yeah, who turns invisible when someone's like, oh, look, those words, what do they mean? And she's like, oh, gotta go. And she becomes invisible. Everything about her, except for the teacup, which, again, I'll raise a question later about how does Sue's invisibility work?
Unstable molecules.
Okay, so when she handed the money to the cab driver and she was invisible, was her purse invisible? And were her contents?
She can project it outwards, make other things invisible.
Whatever. Okay, so anyway, Sue pretty much almost like could have had a free cab ride, but then decides, oh, I'm going to try and pay this cab driver as she's trying to get to where she's going. And, well, cab driver freaks out. He turns red and speeds off, and Sue gets a free cab ride.
What's funny is that cab driver shows up like 150 issues later.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Does she pay him back?
I don't remember, honestly. I just remember, like, that's a weird callback. The cab driver.
Here's probably the most strange thing I found in the entire thing, is we meet Ben Grimm, and he's at a big and tall shop trying to get fitted for a suit, and then just leaves his clothes behind and runs out in his maroon underwear when the Fantastic Four signal goes up.
Well, there's a couple of things with this that I think are weird. The original design for Ben wasn't rocky. It was more designed to be like dragon scales. The kind of rock platelets would be more defined later on. But I really hate the shot of him walking away, because he's normally like in his little short shorts, but it looks like he's wearing an adult diaper and it's full.
Yeah, he's got a little load in there. He's got a little extra.
But here's what doesn't make sense. So he had to get into this business somehow, presumably through the door.
Yeah.
And then he's too big to get out the door and just bust it open.
Well, maybe he walked in sideways and he's leaving. Also, he bursts out, and there's definitely this guy is a pimp. He's wearing a maroon velvet suit with a hat.
And then the cops shoot at him.
110%.
He jumps into the sewer and escapes.
110% a pimp. Yeah, then he decides, like, okay, I got in the sewer through a manhole cover. I'm just going to burst up through a city street, right away, if I'm a member of Central City and this Fantastic Four thing goes up and all hell is broke loose because of these guys, not a fan. Not a fan right away. My taxes have gone up immediately because of Ben Grimm.
Then Johnny Storm is working on a car. He's like, this is the best thing ever.
Then he destroys it.
Yeah, and then he flies through it. Also, at this point, we're not going to find out for a little bit, but Johnny Storm's like, I have a secret identity. Except then he just, like, explodes this car right next to a friend of his.
Yeah.
I do think we see some disconnect between Stan and Jack here, because the flare apparently becomes a number 4, and that's not what flares do, so I feel like Jack just didn't match what he originally did with the
Unstable
art.
molecules, man.
Doesn't work like that with flares.
Doesn't work like that with invisible people either.
But yeah, so there has to be a dialogue box like, look, the numbers are the letters are forming a number. There's a bunch of inconsistencies here that they certainly hadn't found their rhythm yet. The army shoots a missile at Johnny.
A nuclear missile over a populated area.
This is not the last time they'll shoot a nuke at the Fantastic Four.
Also, Johnny destroys 3 jets in the process.
Yeah, but they show them in parachutes, so they're alive.
Yes, but also that raises the question, I'm assuming those other jets had nuclear warheads on them, and those other jets exploded. Why did the nukes not go off?
Don't know what to tell you.
Unstable molecules?
Sure.
Okay.
And then they all arrive back with Reed. Ben has his clothes again somehow, after discarding them in that suit shop at the tailor, I guess you could call it.
Ben has either a lot of the same suit, or as you said, keeps pulling them out of his ass. Maybe that's why his underpants look so saggy.
He's just hiding trench coats in
Yeah,
there.
there you go.
And Reed's like, we have a task, but then the book does a flashback.
Yes.
To the origin of the Fantastic Four, which is confusing as all hell.
Yeah, they're like, okay, well, let's break into this top secret spaceport just outside of the city and hop on this rocket.
Yeah, apparently Reed has been working on a rocket to go to space, and they want to beat the Reds there. And he's like, we have to go now to beat them. And Ben's like, hey, I'm not flying you into space. And Sue just goes, didn't know you'd be such a coward. And he immediately does a 180. He's like, we're going to space. I'm no coward. They break into a government facility and take off in a rocket.
What's a rocket that Reed designed?
Why are Sue and Johnny there? Zero reason. No reason at all.
Yeah.
They're just there.
They want to be part of the group.
You don't just send people to space. No, come here, teenage boy.
Oh, how are they all going to get their superpowers, Zach? Come on. Suspension of disbelief. I'm supposed to believe that Sue Storm is invisible and she pulls money out of her pocket and it becomes visible all of a sudden?
I just want there to be a reason why they were in space.
To get their superpowers, dude. 110%.
Then they're hit by cosmic rays. They crash, get their powers. Oh yeah, Sue, by the way, mentions that she's engaged to Reed. They drop that immediately and get it back later on, but...
Takes them a while. It's a long engagement.
No, they literally go back to like, oh, should we get engaged? I guess they broke it off at some point.
Well, at least he tried to put a ring on it.
They all get their powers. Sue is awful. After calling Ben a coward, he transforms and she's like, oh god, you're a monstrous thing.
Well, she's just not very tactful, is she?
No, she's awful. Ben attacks Reed, and thankfully this is a story point they drop very early on. He's like, why are you with a, nerd like this when you could be with a real man like me? Thank God that love triangle went away quick.
Wow, that would have been rough.
And Johnny's a hothead, and, he turns on fire. And then they all put their hands together, and they all have gloves now for some reason. They didn't have them before.
It's their space gloves.
They didn't have them before. What do you want from me?
Unstable molecules.
They all come up with names for themselves, like, I'll be the Human Torch. I'll be the Invisible Girl. Ben's like, I'll be what Susie called me. I'll be the Thing. And then Reed, pretentious ass he is, he's like, I'll be Mr. Fantastic. What the hell does that have to do with anything, Reed? Stop being pretentious.
How do your powers define you as fantastic?
Mr. Fantastic.
You can just stretch your arms and legs.
Should have called you Stretchy Man.
Stretch Armstrong.
No, those are crap.
That wasn't taken at the time, though. You ever see one of those put in a microwave?
No, I had a few
terrifying.
of them, and they all broke within like 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, you can't pull cars out of ditches with them. Like, they're not built to be like stretched across the whole room.
No, that's not what I was doing with them.
Oh.
Why did you go there?
Anyway.
Then we jump back to the present. Don't know why the book's in this order.
But we meet the Mole Man.
Yeah, apparently this terrible thing that Reed was sending up a flare for was there was some seismic activity, and he's like, I pray that I never have to call on our powers again. Dude, it's some earthquakes. What do you need superheroes
they happen
for
all the time. Everywhere. There's an earthquake happening probably right now.
So they go to check out these earthquakes.
Yeah, in French Africa.
That's questionable. And they go to Monster Island, where...
Also questionable.
I did check. Fantastic Four beat Godzilla to it, so maybe they stole it from them.
Also, I like the whole premise of going to Monster Island when Ben's like, that place doesn't exist. It's just a myth. 2 hours later, the Fantastic Four are just rolling up on Monster Island like it's in the Atlas, like it's in the little GPS.
Reed and Johnny go to investigate, only to get knocked out, and then wake up wearing different clothes. So whenever that happens, I'm always like, someone stripped them down naked and redressed them.
Yeah, what's that all about? And they had sizes that fit them.
Also weird that there are clothes in this underground lair, I guess we'll call it.
Also, this mole guy, this mole man dude here, giving them clothes. Like, that's kind of like not super evil. That's being a good host.
Yeah, but then it turns out he's trying to destroy the world.
That's not being a good host.
There is something I really like in this chapter, and without, actually referencing it directly, it's kind of hard to do, or, showing it. But there is a panel of Ben fights a monster, and it is a very Kirby thing, like him lunging forward and kind of hitting this monster with both of his forearms. That's the kind of drawing you're going to see a lot of in the future. That was the most kind of early Kirby. I shouldn't even say early Kirby because he's been working for like 20 years at this point. But early Marvel Kirby of his kind of action style. We get one good glimpse of it with the Thing fighting a monster.
Also, again, the Thing got his clothes back.
Oh yeah, those are there again. The Mole Man explains his story. He was a fat nerd that no one liked and he fell into a hole and then became the Mole Man. End of origin.
Yeah, although he lands in this Valley of Diamonds, which he could totally get whatever he wanted with.
Yeah.
Why do you have to destroy the world when you probably are the wealthiest guy in the world now?
Then he fights.
Minimal logic at best.
Reed and Johnny don't use their powers. The Mole Man fights them. It's pretty limber for a fat man.
Yeah, good for him.
He's doing flips.
Well, he has super sensory powers, like a bat, he says.
He's doing parkour.
Yeah, hardcore parkour. And again, the Thing, for the 5th time in this issue, takes his clothes off. Yeah. He's a real exhibitionist. But it's like your typical monster movie. All these monsters come out of the abyss to fight for the Mole Man. And, well, shockingly, the Fantastic Four escape and fly away. And the island blows up. And the Mole Man's been sealed in forever, when the Mole Man very clearly laid out a map of all of the tunnels he's built to underground cities. The Mole Man ain't dead.
No,
Fantastic Four, dumb.
He'll come back.
You'd think they would learn.
And they're so fine with him being dead. They're like, hope we never see his dead ass again.
Yeah, he's totally gone.
And that's issue 1 of the Fantastic Four, the start of the Marvel Universe. Something that would span for however long ago 1961 was. I'm not doing math.
Over 50 years.
Good. There we go.
57 years.
I mean, we've done kind of the origin of the DC Universe before back with Action Comics, but overall, this is interesting, but not very good.
I would agree with that.
Which is fine, because it's like the earliest of early days. You're not getting earlier than this. Marvel's done superhero stuff before with Joe Simon, Jack Kirby doing Captain America, or doing Submariner, or the original Human Torch. Stuff like that's been done. But overall, it's interesting to read, and you do see the spark of ideas of having Reed be the inventor and Ben being like the bruiser, who's definitely not as dumb as he likes to play. Like, he's a World War II fighter pilot. He's not that dumb.
No.
But he likes to play up that kind of side. You see, Johnny is the young hothead, and Sue as the lady, which would be her role for a very long time. She's now like the most powerful member by far.
This is how I equate it. You equate it with like a TV show. Yeah, the key to success sometimes is having a very good pilot. But how many people's favorite episode of a show ever is just the pilot? How many people's favorite season is just the first season?
Firefly, their best episode's the pilot.
That's one. Name me more. Where the pilot is the best episode of the whole thing. The pilot is your world builder. It gets your feet wet. It introduces characters. It introduces themes. It introduces concepts.
Oh, I just looked at the Clerks cartoon. I don't know.
But do you see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah, I know. But it's interesting, and I love where it builds.
It's not bad, but it's not great. You've got to take it for what it is. Just like Action Comics 1.
And what it did, I mean,
was not the best Superman comic ever, but it's important and it's exciting and it's a world builder. This is a world builder. It's exposition.
Stop saying exhibition.
Well, that was Ben. He was an exhibitionist.
It's crazy how much the world blows up from here, though. Like, how everything just goes back to this one starting point, which is fine, but it doesn't have the most auspicious start. And this would lead to a 102 issue collaboration between Stan and Jack, one of the longest runs in comics. They've been topped by like 1 or 2 people, but I mean, for a long time, they were the undisputed champions of this kind of thing. And I mean, we've done the Galactus saga, and when it gets going crazy good.
Yes.
It's just fun going back, and I don't want to be like, this is a bad issue. I think it's endlessly fascinating to see where it started, but unless you're kind of interested in the historical stuff, it's not the most interesting thing.
No.
But, if you want to look at the history, it's great. And I so wish that art existed so you could compare notes of what they were going back and forth with. And even their own personal recollections between Stan and Jack contradict each other. So there's really no one who knows the truth. I've even seen things online of they think the story might have been done backwards. Like they did the Mole Man thing first and then decided to do the origin. And that was actually drawn later, but there's nothing to fully back it up. And no one really knows. So as much as it's not even that old and people who worked on it are still alive at the time, as much as Stan likes to kind of tell that romanticized story, I don't think at the time it was designed to be the game changer it became.
No, but I think that's also one of the things that really draw us towards comics and towards these fantastic stories and tales is the stories behind the stories.
And this was disposable pulp at the time, but without this, we don't see Infinity War a couple weeks ago.
Oh man, that was such a good movie.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's so crazy that everything just spawned out of this. Yeah, I think, it's worth reading, but don't be going into it being like, I'm watching the birth of a universe.
No, it's a pilot. It's the pilot. It's the world. It's the foundation. It starts to set the rules and it starts to it lays out the rules for the universe.
And some people like to, again, trying to romanticize it like, oh, it was all part of a grand plan. No, it wasn't. Not at all.
No, it was, let's just make it. All right, let's see where it goes.
Hope this sells.
Yep.
It's kind of the long and short of it. But yeah, that's Fantastic Four #1. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be covering different aspects of the Fantastic Four, different places they've gone.
Like space.
They do a lot in space. I feel like a lot of modern audiences kind of poo-poo the book. It's one of my all-time favorites. There's a few aspects that I really like. Overall, it's a core team. Like you take the Avengers, the X-Men, it's a constantly rotating thing. There's something nice about the Fantastic Four being consistent. You get to see the growth. I love the different permutations of characters and how those relationships work. You get a married couple, you get in-laws, you get best friends, you get kind of some contentious relationships. Something that, I know we shouldn't say it because the movie's so terrible, but something that I like that the 2015 movie did was making Johnny and Sue step siblings, because that adds just one more permutation of relationship that you get within that group. Also, terrible movie. That's the end of my compliments for that movie. But
also, it does tie back to when we did the 1994.
Yeah, except that guy wasn't the Mole Man; he was the jeweler, I think.
Yeah, but it was just 110% taken from the source material. There was not a whole lot different from it.
And people look at it as like, oh, it's, a nuclear family that's kind of boring and all that. I look at it as like space Indiana Jones or interdimensional Indiana Jones. They do weird, crazy stuff with this book. Like they're not that far away from time travel. And the next issue introduces aliens. Like this, I love this book. And I especially think that people should get the new relaunch because it's been away for a while. So I think Marvel's going to be going into it pretty hard.
There you go.
That's what I have to say.
I'm glad you said it.
From there, we are moving on to letters to the editors.
Now for my favorite part of the show. What did I say? Talk to the audience. Oh, God, this is always dead.
Here's another one of your letters to the editors.
If you want to send us something, Twitter, Facebook, Gmail, editorsnotecomics@gmail.com. This one came in, and I'm going to condense it. That's what I do. I usually like to keep the letter short. If you want to send a long one, that's fine. I guess sometimes we do the long ones. After the commercial difficulty Solo is having, do you think Star Wars fatigue is out there? I'll give you some background information before we do it, because I did get the numbers.
Yes, please do.
This was going to be a news item, and then I was asked the question. I'm like, Solo in its second weekend took a 65% drop, which isn't uncommon. Most movies take about a 50. They brought in another 29 million, which brings them to a total of 148 worldwide. Comparatively, Force Awakens and The Last Jedi made that amount in 2 days versus 2 weeks, and Rogue One did it in 3 days.
Yes.
So comparatively, this movie is nowhere near. And again, to say it, this was also the most expensive Star Wars movie ever made. So, is there Star Wars fatigue? Why has the profit on this movie been so low? Da-da-da-da-da-da. Stop hitting the microphone.
That was terrible. Okay, here's my theory. I don't know if it's necessarily Star Wars fatigue. I think it's just big movie fatigue. Think about the last couple of months, the movies that have come out. You've got, look back over it. Black Panther, people went to go see that. Infinity War, people went in droves to see that. What other movie? Deadpool. So I think
this was the week after Deadpool.
So I don't think it's necessarily Star Wars fatigue as it is just wallet fatigue. Think about the amount of movies that people have been wanting to go see, and just week after week after week, people are going to the movies. And at $12 to $14 a pop, you've spent $50 in the last month on movies alone. That's a lot to ask.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily Star Wars fatigue as much as it is.
We hated The Last Jedi, so we're not going to this one. Or we had our boycott. I don't think it's that.
No, I think it's big movie fatigue.
I agree, because I mean, even I'm feeling a bit tired. It's like, oh boy, we got to do this again. And I like this stuff.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's really what we went 3 weeks in a row.
Oh yeah, we took like 1 week off.
Yeah,
but in the last 4 weeks we've seen 3 movies.
So I think it's more of a wallet fatigue than it is a Star Wars fatigue.
And at this point, I think the summer blockbuster is dead. It's been proven.
Because they spread them out. There's no more big summer movie because they just...
Anyone will go at any time of the year. Deadpool came out in February, usually like a dead month. That was the second highest R-rated grossing movie of all time. Black Panther came out in March. That did billion and change. Christmas is a big thing now. Avatar did it in 2009. Star Wars has been doing it in Christmas. I think the summer blockbuster doesn't need to be the summer blockbuster anymore. I think that time has passed. Jaws kind of kicked it off, and what was that, 78? That was the first summer movie blockbuster, and I think that time is done. And I think people can start spreading this out.
Speaking of Jaws, did you see there's a place that's doing like viewings of Jaws this summer where you are in a pool in inflatable things? And there's like a drive-in concept, but you watch Jaws on a big screen while swimming.
I hate that. I don't want to do that.
You realize like there are so many ways that could end poorly for a lot of people.
People just could be pissing their pants.
Yes.
Jaws was the first movie to scare me as a kid, like really get me.
Oh yeah, it was the movie that was going to make people not want to swim.
Well, it was none of the shark stuff, none of the blood stuff, but like when they're down and that body comes floating around like his face is all messed up, that scared the hell out of me as a kid.
Yeah, well, I think it's just the visceral terrors. Like it's an everyday thing. People love to swim, and they said, "Oh, you love to swim." Well, swimming is death.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's Star Wars fatigue, and I'm not in that like band camp of like
in that band camp
or whatever
in that camp
or yeah
this one time.
No, I don't think people are done with Star Wars. I think Star Wars is becoming less of an event, definitely, because I even remember like when we went to go see Force Awakens, like we were so jazzed up. We saw like the Lucasfilm come up, and then we see that text. You're like, yeah, that was super exciting. For this one, I walked in and I was like, all right, let's watch a film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Star Wars needs to be Marvel and just pump them out. I like taking a break between Star Wars. It makes it an event.
Yeah. Oh, Thor Ragnarok was in there too. I was just thinking of. I felt like there was another movie.
That was November.
Missing. Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That feels like it was recent.
But even when we were doing like when episode 1 came out, there was so much hype around that, and then even there were 3-year breaks in between those. And I remember being so disappointed when I was doing the math in my head, like when Phantom Menace came out, like, oh man, I have to wait until I'm 17 until all these movies are done. That's ridiculous.
That's good math for a young man.
Yeah, I was very annoyed.
You're always very annoyed. That's your secret.
Even as a child, just perpetually annoyed at the entertainment industry.
Yes.
I don't think there's fatigue. I would like to, it's a dumb sense. There's not fatigue, but I'd like to take a break. I just want it to be an event. I don't want it to be.
See, I would have preferred
all the time.
I would have preferred they waited on Solo till like
December, so we had a year. So it wasn't because there's only 6 months and then there's a full year and a half. Like,
yeah, I think if you had waited that long and kind of went to that cycle, I think they were trying to catch the Memorial Day weekend, which is like was traditionally the Star Wars weekend.
Yeah, but then they moved it to December. Just do that.
Yeah,
I know they were trying to hit like the anniversary, but whatever. I don't know. So I guess even though I've been talking out loud, yeah, I guess there's a little bit of Star Wars fatigue. Not enough to stop me from going, but enough to. And I liked Solo, but not enough to get me like I don't have that feeling that we had when we saw Force Awakens. So it was just like, oh my god, we're back.
Yeah, but I also don't feel like it would be enough to speak to like the box office problems. There's a lot of heavy hitting movies in the box office.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
There's definitely that. I am glad we have a little bit of a break before Ant-Man.
Yeah, but the timing of it just was not well.
But the other side of it too is like Marvel doesn't expect Ant-Man to do Avengers numbers. They market those differently.
Yeah, it's still gonna make money.
Oh yeah, it'll probably be a good movie, but
and people are gonna want to go to see if there is a post-credit scene to see where it falls and what's going on.
Yeah, but that's I don't know. I think you were saying apples to oranges earlier. I don't think you can really compare the standalone movie to something like Last Jedi. Like those aren't the same thing.
No, agreed.
So I will say partial Star Wars fatigue, but also I'm kind of tired of going to the movies this summer.
I'd say it's like 80-20, 70-30.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of other movies that came out this year that I was like, oh, that'd be a fun thing to go to. But then
when fatigue being the smaller number.
When I was looking at when I originally was planning out our like schedule for the year, I'm like too many movies. I ended up cutting like half of them.
That's awfully nice of you.
Yeah, boy. I'm
like, putting Top Gun back in though.
I'm not seeing that in theaters.
You don't have to see it in theaters. I'll bring the DVD over. We'll watch it on your big TV, and we're watching Top Gun, and we're watching it sooner than later.
I regret telling you that. Share that in confidence, man.
There are men who listen to this show who are extremely disappointed in you, and women too, I'm sure.
Hashtag feminism.
Has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I guess that'll do it for this week. I like that question. We got more out of that than I thought we would.
Yeah, I got some mileage. Speaking of getting more out of it than we thought we would with the Patreon, visit it, patreon.com. Visit it.
Yeah,
Just
also
visit it.
I got a couple new people in the last week, so thanks for doing that.
Awesome. What we're talking about is our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/editorsnotecomics. And for $1 a month, you can get this show a whole day early, or the other show on the network, the Buffy Back Issue Bin, you can get that a whole week early. Some really good stuff happening on that show recently. There was some big interviews in this week's show. So
Yeah.
you would have got it last week.
And even that, at the end of this one that just came out today, I was like, oh, we'll be back in a month. It'll be back in 2 weeks. Or if you're on Patreon, next week.
There you go. The other piece to that, too, is for $5, as you heard earlier in the show, you can be a Duke of the Podcast, in which your name will be
I assume he's going
spoken.
to switch. I don't know. He'll probably switch them up. I don't think he'll just insert other things.
Dilly dilly. You can also visit the store where?
Oh, yeah. 210 Water Street in Hollowell.
Oh, we didn't do a construction update.
We didn't. We should have for this week.
Can we talk about there's no time like the present?
Sure, construction theme.
Can you dig it? What's the state of the construction update?
See you later, you Doug.
Last week was awful.
Was it really?
It's been the worst.
It looks
week
like
so
a
far.
war zone down there.
But what was really great about today, and I felt such a reprieve. The last week was so bad, and today is so much better. And they're definitely prepping for paving.
Oh,
do
you feel?
Yes.
Do you feel encouragement?
Yeah, today has been the best day in over a week, just for like accessibility and ease. And I was like, thank God, because they're really prepping that paving now. Like they're
Good.
filling everything back in, flattening it all out, getting the levels where they need to be. And yeah, I'll be glad when they get it.
You were about to cry. It looks like.
Oh boy, yeah. Last week was a rough week, but it is much better this week. So come on out.
That's 210 Water Street in Hollowell. Any sales?
Nope, but there is a raffle going on that I just started.
Oh yes, the raffle, and there's also you still have some of the Jack Kirby statics.
Oh yeah, but yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like I said, if you want to reach out to get a letter in, and you are on Twitter
at Junior Rich.
We'll be back next week to continue our Fantastic Four coverage.
What does it mean to continue?
It means confefe.
Oh, oh, you know that might be the most clever thing you've done in some time. I'm proud of you.
Oh yeah, we're back next week with the true classics of Strange Tales, true gems of the Silver Age, highlights, if you will.
The way that you're smirking has me believe that I'm going to read some absolute garbage this week.
No, it's real good, man. You'll love it.
That's your lying voice.
That's the worst crap in the world. I love it. It's so.
Is it hot garbage or cool garbage?
It's so bad. It's amazing.
Like amalgam bad?
That was 90s bad. That's its own category. No, this is charmingly awful.
Oh, like me.
You don't have the 1960s charm.
I don't have any charm, in fact.
Do you have a secret identity despite just displaying it everywhere and having a whole movie made about you, but still like, I have a secret identity?
I had a Tinder profile once. Does that count?
Do you get taken out by...
Come on, that was funny.
A morning dew? Do you have to fight the trapster?
I did.
Paste pot Pete. Yeah, we'll be...
I did slip on some morning dew once.
Take away your flame powers because of a light dew. We'll be back for Strange Tales
Fire
next
danger
week.
was low, man.
It's gonna be amazing.
Oh no.
It'll be fantastic. Or strange.
You know, you should have stopped when you had the confifi joke.
Yeah, whatever. We'll be back. See ya. Oh, hang on. Do you want to say your catchphrase? You're rooting for laundry.
What? Oh, yeah. And remember, kids, you're rooting for laundry.
Fantastic. Bye.